How you guys doing today? It's Anthony Gangi. Welcome to another episode of Tear Talk. Sure, by now, guys, most of you guys are familiar with Jesse Mack Butler. There he is. Done a few videos on him already, but as I was driving, that's when he was being taken in by the police, by Stillwater PD. I was driving to a conference. I'm doing a conference tomorrow. Everywhere I went on social media, as I was listening to the podcast, a lot of them were talking about Jesse Mack Butler and why he is considered such a danger. If you guys are not familiar with this case, in the autumn of 2025, a quiet college town in Oklahoma became ground zero for national conversation about justice, accountability, and what happens when the system bends for the privileged. Jesse Mack Butler, 18, avoided prison time after pleading no contest to 10 felony counts related to sex crimes against two girls, both fellow students at Stillwater High School. Originally charged as an adult, Butler's status was changed to Youthful Offender, a designation that would allow him to complete a rehabilitation plan instead of serving what could have been 78-year sentence. By early November, protesters gathered outside the Payne County Courthouse in Stillwater with demonstrators raising signs that read, "Hold Jesse responsible." The case had ignited something deeper than anger. It exposed a wound in the community's sense of fairness. So why do we think that Jesse Butler is so dangerous? Well, one is the nature of the violence. I mean, if you think about what he is doing or what he had did to those two young girls, fellow students of his, he strangled them, assaulted them, raped them. And these are crimes that only escalate, especially at that young age. He's still developing. And right now, he's going in the wrong direction. The strangulation is, to me, one of the scariest things because that's not a crime of passion. That's a crime of control, dominance. Your life is in my hands. Breathe, don't breathe. Breathe, don't breathe. So this is not a story about a teenage confusion or poor judgment. Butler's charge included 2 attempted rapes, 3 charges of rape by instrumentation, 1 count of sexual battery, 1 count of forcible oral sodomy, 2 counts of domestic assault and battery by strangulation, and 1 count of domestic assault and battery. 1 victim was choked unconscious and almost died. That's according to her doctor. In her victim impact statement, she revealed that a medical professional told her she was 30 seconds away from dying. The teenage girl needed surgery to repair the damage done to her neck by the strangulation. Strangulation is not a crime of passion. It is a control tactic, a demonstration of dominance that victim advocates and law enforcement experts consistently link to elevated lethality risk. Butler didn't just harm these girls. He brought them to the edge of death. Number 2 is pattern offending, not a one-time mistake. I mean, he did this back to back, escalated each attempt. And that's another concern because the pattern tells you who that person is and where they are headed. I mean, this person, Butler, was looking at a 78-year sentence. And for someone who did what they did, that is 100% where they need to be, behind that prison wall for that 78 years. But with that said, pattern, in this case, pattern doesn't mean anything. And that's the scary part. Because when you see a pattern, that's when you could start preventing. I mean, what happens next? There's a chance that there will be another victim. Pattern offending, not a one-time mistake. So Butler was charged with crimes against 2 girls, both fellow students at Stillwater High School. The account suggests not isolated incidents, but a pattern. 1 victim alleged that Butler was aggressive and violent with her and says she went along with unwanted sex to avoid being hurt, and that one time when she refused, Butler strangled her and recorded himself strangling her until she passed out. Police later found that video on Butler's phone. This is pattern behavior, escalating violence, opportunistic predation, and the confidence that comes from knowing he could get away with it. Research shows that youth sexual violence that exhibits pattern behavior tends to refine with practice unless firmly interrupted by visible, verified accountability. And accountability is that sentence. It's doing the time. You know, it is scary to know that we haven't interrupted him. He still has the chance to escalate. And where it says here, this is pattern behavior, escalating violence, opportunistic predation, and the confidence that comes from knowing he could get away with it. I mean, this is someone that also has no empathy. I mean, to strangle somebody until they pass out and then to, record them and force them to do the things that he's telling them to do. There's no empathy here. There's no sign of human connection. And the fact that he believes he could get away with it, now he knows he can get away with it. I mean, look how scary he was when it was just a belief. Now he knows. I want to talk about the youthful offender switch and sealed supervision, because in the truth of this all is because he's still under the youthful offender, the juvenile side, we're not really going to know the details of what this rehabilitation means. The programming, the results, it's all probably going to be sealed. And I think that's a concern in itself. And also, I think the way the system is going, people get the kudos for being more lenient, more compassionate towards the people that are the aggressors. Let's see what their concerns are. Maybe we can help them. But the problem is you always got to have respect for the victim. It should be victim-centered. There should be some good moral judgment when it comes to making sure that the victims are getting the closure they need, which includes safety, security, accountability, and healing. And I don't see any of that in this. I don't see any of that in this result. So Butler initially charged as an adult in March, and his status changed to youthful offender after a hearing on July 24th. The Payne County District Attorney's Office said it followed state law in handling the case, noting that Butler was 17 at the time of the offense. He had the 78 years over his head, but then they switched it to a youthful offender. So he was entitled to a rehabilitation plan drawn up by the Oklahoma Office of Juvenile Affairs, meaning he can avoid prison. And the plan calls for daily check-ins, weekly counseling, a curfew, no social media, and 150 hours of community service. The Oklahoman, that's a newspaper or some form of media, was unable to independently verify the details of the rehabilitation plan because it's under seal, according to the court clerk's office. That secrecy may be intended to support rehabilitation, but it also blinds the community, victims, and agencies that might need to understand his risk profile. People have to believe in the system when you're a victim, or else you're not going to utilize the system. So all this does, to be honest with you, is if this happens to somebody else, they may not have the courage to follow up on what needs to be done, which is probably their participation in getting that accountability. But if they don't trust the system and they believe people could just walk out, then you're not going to see many people stepping up. And either you'll have more people on the streets, just committing more crimes because they don't have faith in the system, or you're going to get vigilante justice. I also put the consequence gap. So the harm Butler inflicted is permanent. The victims will carry physical scars, psychological trauma, and altered life trajectories. One victim said in her statement, "I survived what he did, but I will never be the same." The mother of one victim stated, "My daughter has handled this with more strength than most adults could. Watching her stay brave while adults failed her has been both inspiring and heartbreaking." Meanwhile, Butler received 150 hours of community service and counseling. If Butler complies with his court-ordered rehab for a year and doesn't break any more laws, his record will be wiped clean, meaning avoidance of prison or appearance on any sex offender registry. That gap, we have lifelong trauma versus a year of compliance, erodes both specific deterrence, so his belief will be punished if he reoffends, and general deterrence, the message this case sends to others. I mean, there is no stamp of accountability on this. So there is a consequence gap. And in this case here, it only could motivate him to continue doing what he is doing, thinking that he can get away with it again. You know, that to be honest with you, sometimes when you have people that have no empathy like this person, sometimes the only thing that really keeps them in line is that level of accountability, that deterrence. But once they feel they can't get caught, once they feel that they're immune to the consequences, then they do this. So you need that last measure. You need that stamp, that final level of accountability. Because if you lose that final level of accountability, then there is no obstacle there to protect the vulnerable from a predator. So there is a privilege and the perception of protection. So Butler's father is a former football director at Oklahoma State University. Special Judge Susan Worthington, who granted Butler's youthful offender status, has longstanding ties to OSU, where she earned 2 bachelor's degrees. Victims advocates say Butler was allowed to go free because of his family's prominence in Stillwater. Whether or not those connections influence the judicial outcome, the perception of two-tier justice system is now central to the story, and perception shapes behavior. When survivors see cases like this, many conclude it's not worth coming forward. Could you imagine that? One is when you know someone has the privilege to get away with something, so they continue to do harm, they continue to be that predator, and no one's going to do nothing about it because they feel, well, they know how to beat the system, or they have a connection to the system. But here's the scarier thing on the other perspective. The predator also feels more empowered because there's no obstacles in their way. There's nothing that's going to stop them. So now you got the fact that people won't say anything because they're afraid that no one's going to do nothing about it. So then they're stuck even more vulnerable. Or the fact that even if they do say something, they have the connection to get out of it. That's 2 very powerful things. And all that does is just give the predator a chance to perfect their game. These 2 girls were lucky. These 2 girls were extremely lucky. But what about the next? Will they be as lucky? So there was a victim and community fallout. So nearly 100 Oklahomans gathered in Stillwater calling for accountability in the Jesse Butler case. Protesters gathered with signs and chants including "No means no," "We demand justice," and "Stop protecting rapists." Protester Adeline Smith, a survivor of abuse herself, said, "Almost losing your life, having a video being recorded of you almost losing your life, and your assaulter being able to just walk with no punishment, a slap on the wrist and 150 hours of community service, that's just ridiculous. When survivors watch a high violence case end without custody and with sealed terms, the message is clear. The system may not protect you." Then you got the perfect compliance myth. Butler remains bound by a sentence issued August 25th, 2025, contingent on full compliance with a state supervised rehabilitation plan. Butler received a sentence that requires him to complete his rehabilitation plan successfully, including an aggressive schedule of therapy with a specialist and sex offender treatment. And should he fail, he faces reclassification as adult and a sentence of 10 years in prison. The plan only protects the public if every rule is followed every day and if violations are swiftly detected and immediately sanctioned. But secrecy, limited visibility, and the inherent challenges of community supervision mean detection is the weakest link in most rehabilitation models. Guys, I've had a lot of people on my show. I did a great show with Ann Salter, and we talked about predators. We put Ann Salter, Tear Talk. She's a specialist when it comes to dealing with predators, especially sex offenders, and she'll tell you that they can't be rehabilitated. You just make an effort to control their compulsion. but you got to interrupt them. And accountability in this case was that interruption. We had a chance right now to have interrupted this individual, and we did not interrupt him. So again, without that interruption, he's walking around freely, maybe waiting for his next victim. So why this case still matters beyond Stillwater? So State Rep Justin J.J. Humphrey called the outcome unacceptable and said he plans to file a petition for a grand jury investigation into how Payne County prosecutors handle this case. The video showing Butler's arrest has flooded social media, garnering millions of views across X, Facebook, and TikTok. The national attention, the body cam release, the protests all show that this case has moved from a local docket to a public referendum on whether justice applies equally. The message many are hearing is that youth and connections can outweigh accountability. When that becomes the lesson, communities report less, offenders risk more, and future victims pay the price. Guys, I'm not at home, but I could show you this video that they're talking about. I just got to hold it on my phone, so bear with me, guys. But I'll show you. Whoops, commercial. All right, so this is the video. Now remember, guys, the mother may not be in so much disbelief about the arrest, but rather disbelief that her son would be able to do something like that. And it makes sense. It's the mother. You know, she brought him into this world, so there's many reasons why she may be in that disbelief, including denial. That could be a big reason. But if you watch the video, she's already aware. Like she even says at the very beginning, I'll get my story out there. Then she also tells him to keep quiet. But let me show you this video. This is of his arrest.
We're ready to obviously tell our story too. Yeah. Yes, it's Mom. Open the door. It's me. And if you'll just have him step out. Okay. Give me your wallet and phone and stuff. So, okay. Your what? They're in the car. Well, okay, it's fine. It's not locked or anything, is it? Okay. So, can you tell him what you just told me, or? Yeah. So we're here. We're obviously going to place you under arrest. There's a warrant for your arrest. We're going to take you to the jail. I told your mom that she can contact a bondsman, and you shouldn't be very long. But there just is a process for paperwork and stuff. But right now, you do have to come with us, and I do have to put you in handcuffs. So turn around for me. You know what's in this. It's okay. Here, look. Yeah. I'll get you out. Okay? All right. Stay silent. Rick knows about this. Candy's on this. Dad's on his way. We're coming to get you, okay? Stay strong, okay? Say your prayers. Okay, so he's going to go right to the city of Stillwater jail, and if you'll just contact her, then she does this all the time. She knows what to do. Yeah.
I'm sure she knows Stillwater Police Department, not county.
Stillwater Police Department. Yeah. On Lewis. Yeah. And when you say we are
Stillwater PD.
Stillwater PD.
Yeah.
Okay.
That way they don't think we went like straight over and go with the county.
Positive experience for the child.
Spread your feet for me.
Well, that's pretty much it. If you notice, the mother's pretty calm. She's not really reacting as I think most people would. If your son was being arrested, there'd be a reaction to it, very upset. And usually that reaction comes because you're unable to protect your child. It's not even so much about you believing if the child did anything wrong, but rather I can't protect my child. I can't take him out of this situation. And it's power from the law enforcement authority. But the reason why I don't see that with her probably in that video is because she has the power maybe. That could be a good hint of being a political connection because she's not reacting how I would normally think people would react. I mean, she's reacting as if she has control. It's kind of the opposite of what I would believe someone would react. So bottom line, Jesse Mack Butler is dangerous not only because of what he did, but because of what the system just taught him and everyone watching. The conduct involves life-threatening violence. The pattern shows practice and escalation, and the outcome offers privacy where oversight should live. Yvonne Sweeney, mother of one victim, said the family is fearful another woman will be hurt. She says it seems inevitable. We're hoping and praying that's not the case. If there's any hope that the rehabilitation plan succeeds, it will be because violations are caught quickly, sanctions are real, and the public's interest is prioritized alongside treatment. Right now, the record shows a different story, one where the most vulnerable paid the highest price and the most connected walked away. So I wanted to share that just as I was taking my 7-8 hour drive. There were a lot of videos kind of giving their perspective. I'd done 2 videos on this already, but I just felt kind of the push to do another video. So I felt like just putting one out. And there he is, Jesse Mack Butler. Behind him is one of his victims. Scary. Really is. Guys, again, if you like the content, don't forget to buy me a cup of coffee. I have a link to that in the description, as well as head of my YouTube channel. But most importantly, guys, stay safe.